Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We ask you, Lord, to guide and direct this meeting and the decisions that we make, that they'll be in the best interest of the Cherokee Nation. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Council Hargis. Roll call, Shelley?
Sir, Joe Byrd,
On in.
Frankie Hargis,
Present.
Bill England, Keith Austin,
Here.
Jack Baker,
Here.
Harley Buzzard, Sean Crittenden,
Ahane.
Don Garvin, Wanda Hatfield, Rex Jordan,
Here.
Dick Blake,
Here.
Curtis Snell,
Here.
Janice Taylor, here, David Thornton, Victoria Vesquez, David Walkingstick, Ryan Warner.
Ahane.
We do have a quorum.
Bill England's here. This time we entertain approval of the minutes.
Second.
Got a second. Got a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. Reports, Marshall Shannon Buell.
Good afternoon. If there's any questions on any of the report, I'll be more than happy to address those. Other than that, if there's any questions of any other thing, I'll answer that, I hope, anyway.
Yes, Councilor Hargis.
Shannon, I had a young man approach me and ask if the Marshal Service has a chaplain.
He's not our official chaplain. He is a marshal. He's an ex-Marine, if there ever is one, and he's a Southern Baptist minister. He's also one of our crisis negotiators. So he kind of acts as our unofficial chaplain, but we don't have a designated chaplain. So
Do you have a option where they could volunteer maybe if they?
I would absolutely look at that option. Now, they couldn't be, we don't have a reserve program.
Right.
So he couldn't carry a gun, or she, whoever, but I would definitely be more than happy to get their number and meet with them. And quite frankly, it'd be more up to my people than it would me. I'd want my people to feel comfortable with that person as a chaplain. And if they were good with it, then I would be too.
And he recently attended some training in, I think it's New Mexico or Arizona, one of those two, but he was asking me, so I will give you his name and,
Yeah, if you give me his name and number, I'll call him.
okay, thank you.
Councilor Walkingstick.
Shane, I just wanted to commend you guys on your program. I was visiting with some U.S. Marshals, and they said that the Cherokee Nation Marshal Service is an entity alone that they can assign you guys out on something that they need help with and never question or tell you any further direction or assistance on what needs to be done, because he knows that we're highly trained. And so I just want to commend you for getting all your officers that training that they need to give the confidence in outside agencies. Thanks, Bridget.
Okay. Anybody else? There's, with schools that are part of the system here at Sequoia High School and who is not. Because as vehicles come on and off the campus,
Right.
I just like to, have you and your staff sometimes monitor that, make sure that we've got officials that are driving on and off that campus.
I will meet with the superintendent first next week if he's available, and that's I don't know if they have stickers. My stepson just graduated there this spring, and he didn't have a sticker that said parking permit.
Yes.
A lot of schools have that, so
We may need to do that.
that might be a good option.
Yeah.
That way, John Timothy is your resource officer for the school. He's really good. He's qualified. The kids love him.
Okay?
But it would sure benefit John if he could go through the parking lot and look and see sticker, sticker, sticker. And then if there's not a sticker, it might not mean that there's something bad going on, but it'd give him the ability to run that tag and see, does this vehicle need to be here? So I think that's a very good idea.
Okay, I'll let the superintendent know.
All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Anybody else? All right. Thank you, Marshall. Okay, with this, I don't think we have anybody from Attorney General's office today. So, Sarah Hill?
Not from the Attorney General's office, and I warned Todd that if he didn't attend and left me here, I would just blame him for anything that went wrong. So But he did ask me if I would talk to you about the water settlement, because I know that everyone would like an update on that. So with your permission, I'll go ahead and do an update on that if that's okay.
Yes.
Legal elements of that as well as natural resource elements. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit about water settlements generally, because I think it helps you understand the context of it. So generally in tribal water rights settlements before, there are sort of predictable elements. You'll have a certain quantity of water that's set aside for the tribe. They'll determine this amount. There are other, usually big federal dollars involved in those settlements, so big water projects can be planned, infrastructure, things like that. And I say that to say that this settlement is very different than all of the other settlements that have ever been entered into in the past between the entities, which makes sense to some extent because there's never been an Oklahoma tribal water settlement before. So they're breaking some new ground, I think, in how and it reflects, I think, the priorities that the Chickasaws and the Choctaws brought to the table. So it's different in that there's no defined quantity of water for the Choctaw or the Chickasaw nations. They don't have an certain acre feet per year that belong to them that they can use. It really follows much more the existing state model for regulating the water. The state is going to continue to permit the water inside the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation. Also, which is different than other settlements, there's no federal dollars attached to it. So there won't be any big federal projects or things like that based on this settlement. So that's an unusual element of this. The priorities of the Choctaws and the Chickasaws were really the water protect the rivers and the streams in that area. Instead, it permits Oklahoma City can't draw down Sardis until they have reached, and the agreement lays out the different levels of drought that have to be present before they can draw down water. Oklahoma City has to keep in place if they want to do that. So it requires them to down unless there's a real need that they can demonstrate that conservation alone can't make up for.
Were they currently drawing water from Sardis?
They had not drawn water from it yet, but that had been,
Okay.
that was part of the heart of the conflict. Was Oklahoma City said this was built for water supply for Oklahoma City, and the Chickasaws and Choctaws said, you never talked to us about that. And that was sort of the heart of the conflict. And so under this resolution, Oklahoma City will be able to use that water, but it will be limited. Another unique feature of this is in-stream flows, which is basically setting up a system where you have to leave water in the rivers and the streams. You can't just permit them down to the dry riverbed, which is an important water management feature that you see all over the United States in states that are a little more water savvy than Oklahoma has gotten so far. So the agreement specifies that they can't divert water from an area unless there has to be a certain amount of stream flow at that gate before they can divert water. So Oklahoma's agreed to permit based on these technical standards that the Chickasaws, Choctaws, and the state have sort of agreed on for how to manage the aquifer, how to manage the rivers and streams in that area. So there can't be permitting beyond what they've agreed to under these very technical standards. The other issue I think that you'll be interested in is it talks about out-of-state water sales. So in the event of an out-of-state water sale, if there was even one contemplated, there would be a settlement commission appointed, and it would be 2 tribal reps, 2 state reps, and then they would together appoint the 5th representative. And that commission would look at the deal that there was to be struck, and they would make recommendations back to the state legislature. Now, there's no requirement that the state follow that recommendation. So it's not a veto power of even the commission. The legislature can ultimately decide whether or not to effectuate that water sale. But what it does also do, it sets up a fund, an infrastructure fund. So the proceeds from that sale have to go into the water infrastructure fund. And that fund can only be used for water infrastructure projects in Oklahoma, with special preference given to projects that are put forward by people living in the Choctaw-Chickasaw area. So they'll get an extra 10 points on their grant application to access that funding. But that funding could benefit the entire state, which may be where they're trying to get back some of the money that ordinarily you would see in water settlements for infrastructure. There are a lot of other legal elements. There are big releases by the Choctaws and Chickasaws in this. So this is it for them. This is their entire water right. Is contained in this agreement. So there won't be anything else left to negotiate for them. This is it. If it's approved by all the parties that have to approve it, they are going to forego all other rights to permit water, to regulate the water, to set their own standards, to make any other claims. They'll be forever barred from doing that. So this is their water settlement and their full settlement of all their water rights claims in the state. And so there are a lot of provisions in it. But I think that that's maybe the bare bones of it. It's going to maintain state regulation. There are some unpermitted uses by the Choctaws and the Chickasaws that they'll be able to continue to make, but they're going to have to communicate with the state and say, this is how many acre feet we're using. If we're going to change it, they have to notify the state, which makes sense. If you're jointly managing the water system, both sides need to know, I think is the justification for that. Both sides need to know what water is being permitted if you're going to be managing a joint resource. So I think from their point of view that was, I think that it really reflects their priority in protecting Sardis and protecting the water availability for southeast Oklahoma.
All right. Anybody got any questions? Yes, Councilor Baker?
Yes, thank you. The positive side was that the state does recognize that there are water rights to the Indian nations. Is that a true statement, or?
You can read the settlement that way. I think Oklahoma would say they definitely didn't do that. They would say, we agree to these terms, we agree to, with the Chickasaws and Choctaws, to manage the water in this way, but I don't think that they would feel like we're acknowledging tribal water rights. To them, they maintain permitting authority, they maintain the ability to make water sales. It definitely is. They had no incentive to settle if there wasn't a tribal water right. So I think that maybe there's a tacit acknowledgement of tribal water rights. Man, that's such a lawyer answer. I hate to give that to you, but I think Oklahoma would say that they didn't agree to anything like that in here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councilor Lay?
Thank you, and that was one of my questions. The other one is, you're going to give us a written report, I think, at some point, I guess.
Right, that's correct.
And before we start down any water rights road, will we get together in groups of 2 or 3 for council to discuss that?
Definitely. And in the past,
Before we get to the decision being made, what I'm getting to.
right. And I think that probably, we could do that really soon. And in the past already, we've been traveling down the water rights road for a long time. There's a lot of work that's been done. I've briefed the council all in the past, and some of you were probably there for those, and some of you maybe weren't. So I think that's something we could definitely set up now, and sort of you can look at a lot of the work that we've already done and get a better sense of. It's just good for you to know the basics of the work that's already been done by Cherokee Nation, because there's a lot of work that's already been done.
Thank you.
Yes, anybody else? Yes, Councilor Buzzer?
Just listening to your summarization of those negotiations. Of course, the Chickasaw Choctaws can do what they want to do with their tribal governments, so we don't have any say. But this is my opinion. I don't see where they got a whole lot extra out of it, other than maybe being brought to the table. I just feel like some of the tribes in southwestern United States have negotiated those water rights to a lot more legal standards than we're seeing today. Some of those out in Arizona, New Mexico, they have rights to those rivers out there, and like the salmon thing in Washington and Oregon, they fought that state out there for those rights out there, and they won. So anyway, I guess I'm happy for the Choctaw and Chickasaws. At least they brought it to the forefront. But I think just what you said a while ago, I don't think the state of Oklahoma recognized them at all as having treaty rights for water. So I don't know. I'm sure they gained something from it. And, that's just my opinion. I just think that there's more to these water rights than Cherokees can do more.
I think that's fair. I think, it does reflect their priorities, which are different than our priorities. And another thing that I know I've heard Stephen Greetham say in the past, who was one of the attorneys for Chickasaw Nation, is that most of the Western water rights cases were settled in crisis, when there was not enough water to meet all of the needs that were on that water resource. And in southeast Oklahoma, there is enough water to meet all of the existing needs. And so it really set up a whole different kind of discussion in some ways than what some of the ones in the West, and I'm not defending their settlement, I can't speak to why they did what they did, but it is a very different circumstance than some of the Western water rights cases were settled in. So for what it's worth, there may be some reasons behind their decision making on that we can't.
Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody?
Talked to you the other day about, the Delaware County, what we'll call it. But we're having another meeting next week, and I'll keep you updated on that.
Okay.
Possibly y'all may want to send a representative, or maybe not, but whatever, I'll have an attorney to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, please do.
And we'll see what we do.
I wish I had a magical solution for that. It's just gonna probably take a lot of hard work and a lot of time to get that situation figured out.
Right, yeah.
Yes, anybody else? You know, back in the late 80s, Sardis Lake was always the issue that was brought up at our intertribal. And the state of Oklahoma at one time was trying to sell water from Sardis Lake to the state of Texas without consulting the tribes, Chickasaw, Choctaw. And there's where a lot of this came from. Then in the late 90s, when Governor Keating was in office, they had a water rights, Native Americans and state conference there at Muskogee Civic Center. And that was very informative. Everybody gave their pitch, and we all walked away scratching our heads who still had the power and who still had the authority. You know, looking at what you just presented here, these tribes really gain limited authority over their own rights here. If the state is still permitting the license and policies, they didn't really gain that much. They already had those rights, limited amount of water they could, you know, Sardis Lake goes down so low, or they're needing the water. Didn't seem like they gained much in their negotiation. I hope we do a much better job in playing hardball here.
I understand your point, sir.
Yes. Anybody else? Okay.
I'd just like to make a comment. I would like to say, Sarah, that I think we are just spot on to have a Secretary of Natural Resources finally. And I'm glad for you, I'm glad that you're here to take on these things before they become a big hurry up and do something. We appreciate your input and your knowledge and your skill.
It's my pleasure. It's nothing on earth I'd rather do than this job.
Thank you.
If you would, have the AG or yourself give us a little narrative of the ruling here.
You will definitely be getting that.
Yeah, I doubt if anybody wants to read an 80-page opinion, but you know, summarize it. You
It's
would.
thrilling stuff, but I
Yeah.
understand.
Yes, I know. All right, thank you very
Thank
much. Next, I see Miss Gwen Terrapin back there.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Well, I have more exciting news to report because I only have 10 for your request. No GRAs to date of our requests and everything, and if you'd like anything, just let me know. And I'm continuing to work on getting the documents on there so that you'll have access to those also. But I would also like to say thank you for your continued support in everything that we do and everything that we're doing.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Gwen? Just commend you and your staff for doing an outstanding job.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Sharon Swepston, Tax Commission. She's always here. May have perfect attendance.
I have company today.
Okay?
Good afternoon. Hello. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Dale Glory, and he is now working for the Secretary of Natural Resources, and he is handling the hunting and fishing. As I talked to you about on Monday, he will be processing all of those licenses. The phone number is the same, the email is the same, and fax number right now is the same, and everything. So they can go on the website, fill out the form, they can email, fax, or call if they have questions, and he will get them taken care of.
Okay. Anybody? Yes, Counselor Vasquez?
Thank you. Could you just spell his name? I heard Dale, but I didn't get the whole name.
Glory, Glory.
Thank you.
That's correct.
And could we have that phone number too?
It's 918-453-5333.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else? Yes, Counselor Walkenstick?
You guys find out where you're gonna be located at?
I'm at the bottom floor of the Attorney General's office right now in the court mall.
Okay. I think they're gonna stay there, or they're gonna be shifting you around?
Sir, I don't have a clue.
Good. All right,
Sir.
sounds good. Thanks, Dale.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Speaker.
Counselor Baker?
Yes, thank you. Could we get a report next month on the revenues from the extended jurisdictional boundary for the car tags?
Yes.
You report the number of tags, but not the revenue.
Oh, okay. Okay. I have a graph that I can send you that's got all of that.
Okay.
And I was sending it to council, didn't know if you still wanted that, but I can send it to you. It'll just be in an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
If that's all right, and I'll just send it to all of the council every month if that's all right.
Okay,
Yes.
rest of the state.
Yes,
Okay,
I can work that out for you.
okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you do have my report. I did have a question from Counselor Austin about the 100% disabled veterans tags. It is in legislation. It's actually in our rules and regs that says that they do have to be 100%. That says the sales tax exemption for 100% disabled veterans extends also to the surviving spouse, and that they have to have a letter from the United States of Veterans Affairs, which must be presented certifying that the veteran is receiving disability compensation at 100% rate with the exemption card. And that's what we use to verify, but that is in our rules and regs that it is 100% disabled. We do offer several other, we have the active former military, veteran of foreign wars, the 100% disabled veteran, the winners medals of honor, prisoners of war. We have several different discounts, but for the disabled, they do have to be 100%.
Okay. Good. Councilor Austin?
That my constituent was asking me about, an 80%, he happens to be classified 80%.
Yes.
And yet there's no, his tag
Right.
is he doesn't qualify at 80%.
Right, he'd get the active former, I guess. Correct.
I suppose so. Well, he wanted me to find out about the about this program and make sure if it was legislation or policy, or if it had to do with our compact. Is it something that we actually have the authority to decide on that or not?
Actually, for the in-jurisdiction, the commission, we have a commission for the tax commission. It's a three-person commission, and generally anything like that is brought forward would go through the commission for their evaluation and then be forwarded on to the council if it goes into legislation. If it just stays in a rule and reg, then it's the commission's decision whether or not that needs to be changed. So it can be changed, I'm sure.
How many tags do we issue on the 100%?
I would have to run that number. I couldn't tell you off the top of
Okay.
my head, but I can get that for you.
I don't know how many tags we're talking about and how big of an impact it would have.
Right.
I do agree with my constituent that if they have served the country and are disabled, I would like to see that, what I would like to actually think that we may be able to do is offer their tag at the same percentage as their disability. So that would be something, but I have no idea how that would affect your job, how that would affect your commission, and I want to make sure if that's something legislatively needed or policy.
It would probably wind up in the rules and regs, like I said, through the commission, and I can research that and see what we come up with to see how many we actually do at 100%. I can tell you the reason that it is at 100% is because we pretty much went by what the state offers, and that's all the state offers is the 100%. They don't offer a 50% or 80% or anything like that. Not to say that we can't, because that is something that we can look at. The 100% disabled veteran, if the vehicle is new up to 8 years, it costs them $5. And if the vehicle is over 8 years old, then it's $0.
Well, it's something I'd like to see if there's a way to extend those to those folks.
I'd be happy to research that.
And what our options would be.
I'll get with my director and the supervisor at the tag office to see how many of those letters they see, if they can give me an estimate that are less than 100%.
I appreciate that.
And see what we can do from there, go from there.
What was the person that you were talking about, your constituent did you say it was 80% disability?
Yeah, he's 80% disabled.
Okay, so compared to the 80% versus, we had 80%?
No, we only have 100%.
We only have 100%, okay. Wow, you have to be
100% disabled, and it's a $5 tag.
Okay. Is this negotiated in the compact, or is
No.
this something that
No,
this body could come and make some changes?
It actually, it is a rule and a reg, so basically it goes through the commission, but this body can make the recommendations, and I'm sure the commission would be open to any of those.
You know what would be helpful if we had, and we have to do this research, I'm kind of being a little lazy here, but if we had the state and the tribe and see what the pros and cons are. I just asked Counselor Snell here, what are his advantages in him buying a tag from us? He says none. He gets his cheaper from the state.
The state 100% veterans is $5. And then it says a 10% discount up to $450 for 2 tags per year is what the state
What if you just take, I mean, let's say you're 80 years old, you're Cherokee. That's what I'd like to look at.
But it's based on, the tag is based on the age of the vehicle.
Yeah. I think we need to look at what advantages we're giving our elders. It's just like, I always brag on this lady, 82 years old, she's on that treadmill every morning. And then you look at hunting and fishing, all of that stuff.
Right.
And you see what we need to be doing for our elders here.
And also any of our citizens that have the handicap placard, now those tags basically are $1.50.
Okay.
Which is the insurance fee.
Okay, just something to look at, make some comparisons there.
But I can get you the comparisons. I do believe that we
Would-
have that.
yes.
I probably need to make sure it's updated with current from the state. But we do look at those periodically because we want to be the same as the state or better than the state. I don't mean that badly, but we want to make sure our citizens are, getting the breaks that they need. So we do look at those periodically.
Yeah, okay, I would appreciate that. Okay, anybody else? Anybody need a jacket? When do we do the coat vouchers, Shelley?
How about blankets? Can we just pass out blankets?
There you go.
Well, you were given blankets, so every Indian should have a blanket. Okay. All right. Thank you. Good report.
We'll need more wood for the stove.
Miss Karen Ketcher. She's almost got perfect attendance.
Almost. I'm working on it.
Yes.
And I'm about to freeze. My teeth are chattering.
You haven't been given a blanket yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
Okay, we'll work on that.
I had to go out and get a blanket and a flu shot.
I think everyone has my report. Does anybody have
Yes,
any
so you have the report in front of you. Self-governance lady. She does a good job for us.
She does.
Keeps us in the know. Yes, Counselor Buzzer.
A couple of questions, Karen. I know probably 6 months ago, we were negotiating with the Bureau about these roads at Sequoia High School. Has anything been settled on that?
As a matter of fact, I send an email every Friday to Leroy Gishi trying to get a response. And last week, he said that he was meeting with the solicitor on some other issues and that he would once again see if he could get a response out of him. But I'm emailing him every Friday.
Okay. And I hope we get it because we have a nice campus up there and it even enhances more if we had. And the roads are not too bad right now, but we need to make sure that we get them on the inventory so we can do something with them. The other thing I was on the Raymond settlement, when do we anticipate that to come forward? And how much it might be?
I just got an email yesterday and the forms, what do they call the claims forms, hopefully will be sent out sometime in September. That the court has already ruled. And so now they'll be sending out the claims forms and those will be, and what Lloyd said is hopefully it will be, they're still hoping that it'll be September. And
So what they're doing, we're going to send out the claim forms and then we complete the claim form?
yeah, we complete the claims form. What the court did is it settled on the dollar amount.
Okay, yeah.
That came out earlier this week.
Okay.
And so now all they're doing is waiting for the administrator to send out the forms, and then we'll fill out the claim form. I'm sure Lacey in them shop will fill it out, and then it'll go back in, and then it will be ready shortly thereafter.
Okay, anybody else? Would it be possible for Mr. Leroy to come here and present at least one time to us?
Leroy Gishi?
Yes.
I'll ask him.
Why don't you ask him? Just see,
I sure will.
we just pick his brain, let him give us a report, we'll look at him in the eye.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll ask him.
All right.
Email tomorrow.
Who is that?
His email,
Your
when I
weekly
send
email
an email
tomorrow.
tomorrow,
All over.
I also
He
send
is
one
the
to
guy that deals with
Human
roads.
Services,
Yeah. I can't
Human Services part, because several months ago, the nation asked for a waiver on GA dollar amount, actually, for the burial assistance. And I've sent that forward, and As of last Friday, she said
Make
that
sure
it's
you
in the
don't
Assistant
get to
Secretary's
introduce it.
office for signature.
You mess
So
up
we
with
should
it.
be hearing from that shortly also.
Okay, good report. This time, Gaming Commission, Mr. Jamie Ashworth.
I noticed I didn't get a perfect attendance comment coming up here, so. I do want to say that I have put on my winter coat, so I'm not as cold as some of the others.
But you're good when you're here, okay?
I believe my report has made it into the packet yet again.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you. There are a couple of things I would like to share with the committee. First of all, I'd like to take a quick minute to brag on my staff. Every chance I get, particularly when I get to appear in front of this body, I like to brag on my staff. And recently, we just completed an NIGC surveillance review at Hard Rock yesterday. They come out periodically to make sure that we're doing everything we're supposed to do under the statutes. But prior to that, last Tuesday, we had NIGC come in to do a file audit of all of our licensing files. And the period of review covered from February of 2013 through August of this year, so roughly about 3.5 years. And as we were going through the files, and we talked with the field investigator about what she had found during her review, there were a few files that were missing some information when she looked at it, and I think we had about 15 files that she looked at. We were able to satisfy all of those, find the document that was not where she could see it, and we got those satisfied. One of the things that she provided to us was a report that they run off of their system that shows how successful we are in providing them all of our notices. We have to notify them once an employee gets hired, and we do our background check. They have a 30-day comment period, and after that, we are then required again to tell the NIGC what the commission final determination on that person was. So we have to give 2 notices. Over the period of 3.5 years, we roughly calculated about 4,200 to 4,300 employees that we've communicated to the NIGC over that period of time. And for that 3.5 year period, we've missed 4.
Wow.
And that, if you are just doing simple math, I tell them that they're not perfect. I try to keep them humble. Tell them there's always room for improvement. But they were 99.999% accurate. And so Kelly Myers is my licensing manager, but she's got an outstanding staff with Miranda, Heather, Walt, Christy, Caridian, Stacy, got Rhonda Starr. We have Megan, I think I've got them all off the top of my head. But they do an outstanding job. And to say that they are accurate to the thousandth place is outstanding. And when I found that out that day, I had to just take a moment out of the day, go outside and thank them for the jobs they did. They worked very hard on making sure that we are staying on top of all of our licensees, and I just wanted to let them know that I was proud of them, and I wanted to let you know that I was proud of them. So with that, if you have any other questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Okay, yes, Councilor Britton.
Jamie, we talked, when we first got on, we met with Dan at Sequoia.
Yeah.
And it was brought up then, but over the year, I've had a few employees ask me about, they're employed with the casino.
Right.
And they can't play. Now, is that a gaming commission policy or is that a C&B?
That is a C&B policy.
Okay.
We do monitor, and there are certain things that employees cannot do, such as engage in certain promotions. But we do monitor the activities of employees so that we don't cross any boundaries that we call into question any impropriety. So if there are conflicts of interest, we monitor those, but we don't necessarily have an outright prohibition against employees playing games at the gaming facilities. The only ones that are prohibited by law from playing there are gaming commission staff.
Gaming commission staff. So it's not a policy that they can't play?
Not ours. But C&E does have a policy about family members, and I believe the terminology for family members extends out just from the biological to also potential romantic relationships or significant others that may be, an employee may be involved with. But as far as a policy on the actual employees, a lot of that is in the ball court of the operations.
Okay, so I'm not sure, so can they play? Okay, let's put this in a, all right, West Siloam Springs. Let's say I'm a cashier.
Yeah.
Can I get off work and pull that handle?
I believe, yes, you can. Let me give you a better example. If you're a poker dealer, poker dealers can play poker, but we do watch what they do simply because poker is one of those areas where it's easy for me and my two buddies to be playing. We're all employees and we all gang up on one person and we take all that person's money. So we do watch to make sure that they don't do anything inappropriate. And again, they can't play for progressive prizes or any promotional type things like that. So it's not that they can't, and it's not that we try to discourage anything, but we do keep a close eye on what happens out there.
Well, thank you.
Good one. Anybody else? Now, can you play, you think, on the slots?
Well, I'm really not sure. No progressive game, just,
okay.
Just your standard daily, if you wanted to put $5 in the machine, we don't have slots, by the way, we have gaming machines. We can't call them slots. But if you wanted to put $5 in a gaming machine, pull the handle, and if you win $20, great. If you pull the handle and it says you won the big $20,000 progressive jackpot, I'm sorry, you just lost $5.
So I'm clear to tell the employees that's asking me, play.
And I would encourage them to check with their supervisors to make sure that they're clear on what they can and cannot do as an employee. Because there are some positions within there, such as I think accounting and security, IT, those types of things. They do have some, I think, blanket prohibitions, but it would be important for them to check with their supervisor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Watkins.
Hey, Chuck's with us from CMB. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what's your, I guess, what's the policy for employees and on the gaming floor for Cherokee Nation?
Employees can't win.
Yeah.
That's, no. I think Jamie's got it right. It really comes down to the particular role and responsibility of that employee. And certain classifications of employees can't play at all, and some can, and we can provide to that policy. I just don't know more than particulars than what Jamie described.
Yeah.
So employees can play in our casinos? Because I was
Certain employees can.
Certain employees can.
Certain employees can. And I don't know, I'll just have to send you the policy because I don't know which of those. I know I can't, and
Probably Sean does.
officers of the company can't. And then some of those prohibitions extend to your family as well.
As far as jackpots and promotional activities?
Yeah,
and
and
so
even
forth.
playing.
Even playing, okay. Yeah, if you would send us those policies.
Yeah,
I think
we have
that'd
to
be
do that.
informative for
Yeah,
for all the
absolutely.
council.
You betcha.
All right,
Make
thank
sure
you.
we do that.
Thank you, Jamie.
Anybody else? Yes, Councilor Buzzer.
Well, Jamie, I'd just like to commend you and your department for this accomplishment right here. That is something to be proud of, 99.99%. And that goes to show why you've been chosen to be chairman of some of these boards on a national level, because you have good reports coming out of the Cherokee Nation Gaming Commission. So I think that's something to be proud of. I know if you're a supervisor of a department and your department gets recognized, you recognize your employees, and that's exactly what you did just now. So I think it's something to be proud of, especially for a Cherokee Nation Gaming Commission.
Thank you. Well,
congratulations.
Thank you. I'd like to kid with my staff to say, you do all the work and I get all the credit, but that's not true. I do my best to do right by my employees and give them the support that they need, and hopefully this this is a byproduct of that. But all the efforts and everything that you see coming out of that department is not by my hand alone, it's by everybody that's involved. And so they are the ones that deserve the credit, and that's who I wanted to have it.
Okay,
And it's
anybody
better
else?
than it's better than perfect attendance, so.
You're perfect.
I did say he when he's here, he performs.
That's right.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Okay, Human Resources, Dr. Nathan Morton.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Over in HR, we're just gearing up for the end of the fiscal year. And we've also been working on a project for a performance evaluation system that we're going to use next year. And like anything that we do, we kind of test it out first to make sure it's working. So I think my crew is going to use the new system this year to test it. We're going to get all the bugs out of it, and then we'll roll it out later this calendar year. And what I'll do is I'll come give an update on that. I should have an update next month, but definitely within 2 months, once we get it running, I can go through it with you. Are there any questions or?
Yes, Councilor Walkenstick.
On the Lawson, when does that get updated for salaries for the next fiscal year?
I don't know, but I can find out.
I'm just curious because I was going back to our budget hearings on Monday, the conversation I had with Connie Davis, her staff, and I was wanting to know if there's a way that we could coordinate with them to get numbers for FY17, because they're going off FY16 numbers. But if it's not possible through Lawson, I understand if the update doesn't happen till October 1 or January 1st, whatever fiscal. You guys operate in the government fiscal year, right?
Yes.
October 1? Okay.
But I can find out. I don't know the answer. I'll find out how it updates and like when you put something in, when it becomes in Lawson.
Yeah, when it gets Lawson.
Okay.
So I'm sure it's how you guys transport your numbers for directors to get their budgets prepared. The other thing is I want to commend you on getting that performance evaluation started to increase morale in the Cherokee Nation and our employees. Getting a standard of an incentive put in place across the nation is going to definitely increase the work and the efforts that our employees put into the tribe to make sure that we do progress and move forward. So I definitely commend you for that.
Thank you. And a lot of work by not only my staff, but Cherokee Nation IT in order to get this up and running. And I think it'll be a very nice improvement.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Speaker.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, good report.
Speaker?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to amend the agenda under new business. I'd like to add a resolution in support of Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's protest of the Dakota Access Line as item number 2, and put the resolution for authorizing the Cherokee Nation Windmill Resource Lease Agreement to number 3. I put that form of a motion.
Second. Motion, second, amend the agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. I asked the resolution for the support Standing Rock Sioux, the protest of the outline, just for our records here at the tribe to be come through the Rules Committee today, so that's why you have that before you. But in the meantime, first resolution is authorizing Cherokee Nation to become a member and alternates. We don't have to appoint the delegates and all, we can initiate the membership. Seems like every year we get there and we're trying to get somebody to have a credit card up to $25,000, pay for membership and checks, and we send it up there, and it's just been miscommunication. I want to get ahead of the game because it's coming up October. I don't want to get up there and say you guys are not in good standing of NCAI. So that's why I brought it before you as early as I could. So with that,
I'd like to second that, Speaker.
Okay, I didn't make the motion.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion, a second,
The
discussion?
delegate and the alternates are in here.
Yes, okay, good. All right, any discussion? All right, all in
Like to be
favor?
added as a sponsor.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, council. All right, resolution number 2, walking stick.
Yes, this is a resolution in support of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribes protest of the Dakota Pipeline. And just to kind of read a few statements from the chairperson of the Rosebud Sioux Tribe. He says, as first stewards of this land, tribes fully understand that protecting our water and natural resources is paramount. And then it goes on to say, the Cherokee Nation invoked sovereignty in its support and resolution for the tribal council. And Speaker, I'm passionate about this, as well as 15 other council members on this body is as well. And I'd like to put that into a form of a motion.
Second.
Okay, got a motion, second. Any discussion? Yes, Councilor Buzzer.
I'd like to be added as a sponsor of this.
Okay. You want to try this by acclamation?
Yeah.
Council? Jack, you want to?
Yes, oh, it's a resolution.
Resolution.
Okay.
Doesn't need.
All right, so everybody on board?
Yes.
Okay, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, council. I think from the report we just heard earlier on the Choctaws and Chickasaws with water, I think we have to guard and be conscious of the boundaries of our other tribes who's going through environmental issues. And I think this is really a strong stand. I'm not sure this has ever happened before, that where we support another tribe that far north. And I just read where the Navajo Nation even weighed on this. And they're as large as we are, and maybe larger. But we have that political clout, and it looks good when two of the largest tribes try to support the people up there that are going through a really difficult time and trying to protect their families and their basic essentials of the water. We do have we've had some people going up, and I heard the secretary tell me there is a place as a drop-off for supplies. Would you explain that to us? I don't think they heard that when you was talking to us.
Yes, sir. Ryan Mackey and Howard Payton have kind of taken the lead to collect items, and they're doing it at the Master Apprentice Language Office near the courthouse.
Okay.
What?
Yes.
Excuse me, what type of items?
You know what, I would probably get in touch directly with them, but we can get some kind of a list for you.
I can send a gun. She's got ammunition covered.
Yeah, we better have that checked first by Marshall Buell before you do anything like that. Okay, I'm going down the list. I see Councilor Walkenstick and Councilor Critton.
I'd like to also add to this is that there's been 87 other tribes that's offered up resolutions. Of the United States, your tribe, there's 560.
567.
567. So, anyways.
Okay,
I would
Councilor
like to
Critton.
make- oh, sorry.
Speaker, now this, what we just passed, that'll be any further statements will reflect everybody.
This was just for our records.
Right.
That we didn't have any record as far as a resolution
Okay.
that
Is
went
that-
into our books here.
That 15-2 thing that I've seen in several places, looks like there's two people not for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was one reason I wanted to bring this back,
Right.
give everybody a chance. It was unanimous from what I
Right.
heard. A couple of people just couldn't, and I don't know who they are,
Right.
and don't really want to know who they are.
Right.
But I said, why don't we look at it, because they couldn't be contacted for one reason or another. I just left it at that. We were kind of under a time frame there. If you notice, we had ours in on Friday, last Friday. We got our release out, and it hit all of Indian country there that Friday. And then that weekend, I think the executive branch came on board. Is that correct, Secretary? Then when our executive branch came on board, then the Navajo Nation, they came on board. So we really initiated a lot of stuff here. And as a separate branch of government, we can do that.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
I just want to make the comment that, and I received this from a relative of mine that lives in D.C. who happens to be Cherokee, but she mentioned that, not only does this affect the natives, it affects everyone in
Sure.
non-natives, everybody, all the way through the country.
That's correct.
So we are doing a big favor for a lot of people if we help get this stopped.
So far, you're good. Yes, Counselor Buzzer.
And Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that you did this and we brought this resolution forward, because I certainly don't want the public out there wondering who those two people are. I certainly don't want them to think I'm one of the two.
All right. Counselor Lay.
And that, you and I talked, and that, I got a phone call, and who's the two? And I said, I don't know what, but it's not out yet. She said, oh, yes, it is. It's in the newspaper. So I'd like to, that was our first one, so maybe we could have some discussions about what we're going to release, and that all council members should see it before it goes out. And we wanted to get it done, I know, and I'm glad we did, but
Yeah.
we need a little bit better process, maybe.
We really got ahead of the game here. We were one of the very few, I think we were like the third group to weigh in of support there. And I got a hold of Teddy Snell, and I was out of town when I did this. And got a hold of Jack, talked to Harley, and then I think they did the poll. So this is about the best we could do. But it's good that we reconcile that today and took care of business. Appreciate council members. All right, anybody else? Okay, we'll move down to walking stick. Do you have that as well? No, it's
Yes, sir.
Councilor Vasquez.
Counselor, you can take that.
Yes.
Yield to you.
This is 16-103 for discussion only today, a resolution authorizing the Cherokee Nation to execute a wind resource lease agreement with Shalaka Wind Farm LLC and granting a limited waiver of sovereign immunity. And I would also like to note that Sarah Hill and Chuck Garrett are here to
Okay.
give us more information before we discuss.
Okay.
Do I need to put that in form of a motion or not? Okay, I make this a motion.
Yes. Yeah, you got a motion and a second, then we're in discussion.
I need a second.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
You didn't say?
Second.
I'll
Thank you.
say. Discussion going.
Is this same?
Yes.
Might grab an extra for, grab an extra for David Thornton.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Here you go.
So are we in discussion?
Yes.
Can I start?
Yes, Counselor Taylor, you're up.
Okay, so I know that a proposal like this has been before this council before. It was before I was on council and some of the others, so it did not go through at that time. So can you give us differences, what's alike and what's different between the previous?
So I think, this project is one that's had a long life. It was started, how many years ago?
Well, P&E was selected 2010. Our first grant received grant funds was in 2003, so 13 years.
13 years that this, the first a wind farm was going to be feasible there. And I wasn't involved with, I do know that there was a decision at that time for a lot of reasons, probably it didn't move forward. And then, but a lot of grant money had gone into putting together the feasibility studies for it. And so Chuck and I got together and said, let's take a run at this and bring something to the tribal council that they have an option to do, and to the chief, and say, this is the deal that we have. And that's really our intent here today, was just to sort of present you the deal that we have in front of us. It's one that we've, both CMB and I have worked on. And of course, energy development is always an issue that the people have lots of different opinions about, and I totally understand that. We're not here to give you an opinion necessarily about whether or not this is the right thing to do, or, that's your decision to make as the tribal officials. We wanted to present it to you so you have at least the deal that we can put in front of you today, so you would have for Cherokee Nation on this issue or not. So That's not a great answer to your question. I can present the deal we have. I don't know all the details of the deal that was discussed before.
Did that answer your question, Counselor Taylor? Kinda?
Well,
They haven't presented it.
no, because I didn't understand, I mean, I'm not privy to the terms of the agreement before, but maybe we can just go with this one and,
Okay, all right.
I could add just maybe one thing, broad difference between the previous transaction and this transaction was the other one involved Cherokee Nation, and so the risk profile is very different, and this is a ground lease.
Okay, anybody else? Counselor Baker?
Yes. How will this affect the current?
This will definitely be impacted by this. They will have to go on and, do commitments. And so that will impact agriculture leases. There are terms in the lease that if they destroy crops, that P&E has to reimburse for those crops. If they build roads and cause a compaction of the road so that that land can't be farmed anymore, that they will compensate under the lease for that. So there will be at least temporary disruptions. Now, once the wind farm is built, then agriculture can continue on that side. It won't interfere with the agricultural operations there. But in the meantime, with the leases, we'll have to work that out with the existing agricultural leaseholders.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Counselor Buzzer?
I remember back when this first come about, maybe 8 or 10 years ago, and then I was, I guess, more or less favoring this type of operations. But over the years, I've seen and looked at some of these wind turbines out here, and it's not a pretty sight to go and see hundreds of these windmills standing up there going round and round and round. The other thing that I question is what are we going to do at the end of the 20-year lease? Who's going to be responsible for tearing them down, taking them and getting them cleaned up and stuff like that, which I'm sure it's in the contract. The other thing I'm concerned about is we talk about the Standing Rock Sioux and their environmental issues. We have 4 other tribes that are all around the Chilocco properties up there. And I'd be interested to see what their feelings are of having wind turbines all around their properties up there, and their home, and their land. So I just think we need to take it a little step further to be good neighbors to our other tribes in Oklahoma. I know we can do it. Those are our properties around Chilocco, but there's 4 other tribes that's involved with this. Maybe not directly, but indirectly it affects them. So I would like for us to take a look at that, and I'd like to see what they think about it. Not that they can dictate what we want to do, but I think it's just being neighborly that we do something like that. But that's my input. I'm not saying I'm totally against it, but I just think we need to back up and take a look at the environment and what we're doing with it. I think this thing with Standing Rock has really brought me to be more aware of what our surroundings and what we're doing to our land. So I'm not saying I'm totally against it, but that's just my input and my comments. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Counselor Warner?
Knowing this is not the same thing as Clean Line Energy, but you can see the relationship between the two. I mean, one is a transmission line coming across, which brings wind-generated energy, across our land, and my question is, do you feel that something like this would soften our current stance with what we have with Clean Line Energy?
This wind farm has no relationship to the clean line. The power, that's generated here won't be put on the clean line. So there's no direct correlation between the two at all.
Right.
I think your question is more, is a support of a wind energy project, does that represent a softening? Is that more your point?
Yes.
I don't think that, from my point of view, having clean energy on the grid in all the different forms that we can get it, there's a certain urgency to that as well, climate change being the situation that it is. The transmission line and the way that they chose to build that transmission line, those problems, I don't think that all transmission is evil. I think obviously that transmission line, the way that they did it, is problematic and not being respectful maybe of all the tribal issues involved.
Right.
So to me, I think that we can support a wind farm. I mean, I can't speak for you.
Right.
But to me, I think that it's not inconsistent to say I
Yeah.
support alternative energy, including wind energy, but I don't support irresponsible construction of transmission lines. I think you can hold both of those positions.
I appreciate that, thank you. And, you know, and what, I think Counselor Buzzard makes a really good point on looking at, you know, being neighborly. I think that's the best way to put it, you know. It's kind of like before Dad let me show hogs, he said, go around and ask all the neighbors if they care to smell that.
Well, it has been, this is a joint project
Yeah.
between us and other tribes in
Yeah.
the area. So the other
Okay.
tribes in the area are either directly involved in it or have at least courted plans with building
Right.
the same sort of project. So this isn't a Cherokee Nation, a solo operation. This
Okay.
is something that's been done in collaboration with all the tribes at Chilocco. And also there's a process that you have to go through if you're going to build something like this called NEPA that requires them to go through a process to talk to people in the area about the different impacts and to consider the different impacts. And that has to be done in this process as well.
Well, okay, so if we generate this, where do we put this on the grid? Do we, you know, I mean, I've been involved with some talks with Mr. Garrett and Counselor Thornton on looking at hydro plant, you know, and I've got a decent idea about, you know, how we send that power out and, you know, what would be our plan, or what is the plan?
Well, that's part of what, just to take one step back, the neighbors that we're talking about, two of them, the CAW and the OTA, have already signed a lease agreement. So the balance of the tribes that have land adjacent to the school are sort of in a wait-and-see mode to see what we do. Because it does impact, tying it back to your question, impacts the transmission and how it will get put onto the grid. And that's the power, you know, obviously the power developers' burden. One of the things they have to figure out from an engineering perspective that I think
Right.
54 megawatts potentially, and that changes the nature of this whole thing.
Right.
So I can't answer from it's dependent on how much power is generated.
And this and the hydro plant, two different.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty
Okay.
different.
Okay.
Pretty different
All right.
creatures.
All right. Thank you.
Good. Counselor Critton.
Now, how does the energy, pardon my lack of windmill knowledge. All right, so this is gonna produce some energy, right?
That's right.
And how does this get to the folks?
It's very similar to Councilor Warner's question.
So that's
because
on the grid,
It's the
is that what you're saying?
transmission from the wind power generator, which is a turbine, and to the grid itself, which would be then transmitted and distributed to end users. And so, you know, it's you're seeing the GRDA lines running over, go over to Cherokee Springs Plaza, and you see the transmission lines. I mean, essentially, that's what it always to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, the responsible development is one thing, and we would all be sitting in the dark if we didn't have some of it. But, you know, it can also be done in the wrong way and impact our environment.
I mean, this is a business venture, right? Is there any aspect of Cherokee in that area benefiting on their electric bill from something like this?
I don't think that there would be any direct, this is truly a business
Business
venture.
venture.
We're not producing the power, you know, it would be being produced by the wind farm developer. So what they would do with the power then, they would, where it's just a ground lease from our point of view.
Strictly a business venture.
Right.
Back about 5, and it was, we discussed it would mainly be a service to the people and no monetary value for it. So this is opposite of kind of what we were talking then.
Exactly. I mean, that was providing service to people that currently don't have that service. And this is, well, thankfully, we have electricity, but. you know,
Right. And my ears just perk up when I hear stuff like energy cost, because, you know, I heard a little giggling, but I'm sure everybody here deals with people having trouble with energy cost. So that was my question. So, thank you.
Councilor Austin.
Yeah, this says Cherokee Nation Business on it. Is this something that would be managed by Cherokee Nation Business? Who would the checks actually be wrote to? Would they be going into Cherokee Nation Business coffers or Cherokee Nation coffers?
The lease is for the property that is owned by the Cherokee Nation, so it would be Cherokee Nation coffers.
Okay, because that definitely matters. Is it our money to spend, or do we get a dividend?
It trickles down sometimes. Are you good?
Yeah.
All right, Councilor Walkenstick.
I know this is a clean, effective way to get energy. I was on the council when we discussed this last time, probably 5 years ago. And going back to some of the concerns that the council had back then is that wind isn't guaranteed. There's days wind's not going to blow. The other was it was a threat to wildlife. I remember that was a big deal to the ecosystem. The birds was an issue, and animals considered these to be a threat to their lives, and also the safety of outlying neighbors. Kind of what Councilor Warner said. Nor do they make a lot of noise, but that's in tornado risk. And also the oil and gas development. I mean, this is a source of energy. And when you talk about our motives of taking away from one, we're the ones it's in our religion. And then the last is turn this down, and it was called eagles. Eagle feathers in many tribes have strong significance born to the day they rest. Pros, fight those concerns, and art has. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was in opposition to this, as you recall, 5 years ago, and I still am today. Let me throw out a few of the reasons why. Number one, I'm a product of the land, and so when I know what's going to happen to that land, when they start building these things. In my readings and research, they dig a pit about 30 or 40 feet wide, 30 feet deep. It's a concrete plug to hold these things upright. These things are huge, and they're heavy. They're 300 feet in the air, folks. You think your neighbors aren't going to see those? 100 of them sitting out there? It's going to run the land for agriculture and cattle grazing, and that's what's going on out there now. For those of you counselors who have never been out there, take a drive out there. It's really nice property. That whole, all the way across from the west side of the highway, east side of the highway, all the way to our other boundary on the west side. It's really nice property, and I'd hate to see it ruined, and that's what, in my opinion, will happen to it if we allow these to happen. There's going to have to be roads, like Sarah said. There's going to have to be transmission lines. These transmission lines will be big. It's not like the line that runs by your house. It's going to be like the clean line. Transportation in and out, there'll be a lot of it. The animals and wildlife, there's a lot of eagles. There's still some prairie chickens out in this country right here. I've seen prairie chickens up here. And so they run right into those blades, trust me. The other thing, I see we're going to do another waiver of sovereignty, and you all know how I hate that. Probably no in most sense to me. The last time we were at the old council house, I don't know how many ex-governors showed up at the old council house. Like a bunch of buzzards around a dead bed. Our speaker ran the ex-governor. She's a lawyer. That day. I'm in opposition to the idea. We throw more money away than you'll make here. We see in this town here lately. We spent $500,000 in D.C. on an exhibit that 99.999% of our citizens will never view. and forgive me for getting a little too much into this, but let's put these windmills from Stillwell to Tahlequah to Hulbert to Claremore, and let's see how many votes you get. And that's all I got to say.
Okay. Counselor Jordan. Counselor Snell. Counselor Hargis. Counselor Vasquez.
I have some comments. To be fair, since I opened this up, I should have made it more clearly that when we brought them up, that we should have let Sarah give the overview that she gave me recently, which made it very, gave me a much clearer picture of what's actually, what you're asking for here. And we just kind of jumped into asking questions based upon a few of these papers. So I would like to ask that Sarah give the overview to the whole council she gave to me, and then for Chuck to address the economics of it and run through that with us, because I think it would make it more clear. And then possibly, and also, if you would care to comment on the land being ruined issue, I would like to have your input on those. So is that's what I would like to ask.
Well, the intent here was, I talked to the secretary before we started this meeting, was this was discussion only. So when we came in, what I want to do is make sure everyone had a chance for input. That's why I'm going down here.
But you can't necessarily have a good input if you don't know exactly what they're presenting, and we didn't hear a presentation like I would like to have heard, like, or like the rest of them to hear what I heard the other day when we met. So I just, and it's not that lengthy. I don't see any reason that we can't let that happen.
That's fair enough. Anybody else got a comment? We can get right into their presentation.
There is a wind farm on I-35 South. Is that in the Chickasaw Nation, or do you have any idea? It is? Did someone say yes? Oh, it is. Have we consulted, or have we spoken with that tribe, maybe to see, or do we have any figures or facts about, from that wind farm per se?
Not that wind farm specifically,
Okay.
but the wind farms and the economics that the OTO and the cause have negotiated. We're plugged into that, and in fact, our agreement is got the same economic terms as their agreement.
And I'm not even sure it's Chickasaw. I know it's near Davis, Oklahoma. It's near the interstate. I just assume it's Chickasaw Nation. I assumed. I don't know. I should retract and say that.
Yes.
May I come in?
Okay.
It is not on Chickasaw
Okay.
Nation land. It's on private land, and the Chickasaws, many of them that I've talked with have been very upset over what it's done, particularly to the view of the Arbuckle Mountains, because it's pretty much destroyed the good view that we had of the Arbuckles. Thank you.
This isn't a comment about the wind farm, but about oil and gas companies. Just being in the business for 30 years, we have we've gone over many tribal lands, historical sites, endangered animals sites, and so on and so forth. And I don't think, unless you've been in the business, you really know, I mean, yes, many of you probably know, but we have stopped many projects because we're on tribal land, they have issues, or there are prairie chickens. We stopped a project for a year for, so, that aspect of it. I know this doesn't, doesn't sound, it sounds funny. I hear some, but I feel like the majority of the projects I've been involved with have been respectful of water, artifacts, anything to do with a tribal, tribal land, and because we've stopped many projects because of it. Now, I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but, for the most part, sometimes the energy company, just like this, with this tribe now, I mean, I understand it, I researched it, and but I've also had to do that many times in the past, and there are many companies that have been respectful of tribal rights and lands, so it's affected my income.
Okay. Councilor Garvin?
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Just one question.
Do we know who we're dealing with as far as people? Is one of them running for president, maybe?
How can I know? No, yeah, we know the company that we're dealing with. It's the same company that we've been dealing with for a long time at this location. It's P&E Wind. P&E Wind USA is their American branch.
Who are the money people then?
It's through that company. They're a public company based in Germany, and so their capital is raised in the public markets, and then they'll have some lender that'll come in and provide some debt financing to them. Don't know who that'll be. It might be GE. GE would be the manufacturer of some of the turbines, so they often provide the financing. But P&E was selected in 2010 as part of a competitive bidding process, and Secretary and I have just been working with them for a year and a half or two now. They've been around much longer, and they've negotiated in good faith. And they're a significant company primarily in Europe.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor England?
Now, honestly, I've been through this before, and I didn't support it before because of some of the players that was in it. And I have no idea who it is now. But I'm a little cautious about diving into this because of this property affair, and I have to totally agree with Councilor Lay over there. This is beautiful country up there, and I've been out in Palm Springs, California, and you drive down the highway, and these windmills are just going. You don't know whether to turn left or right, because you get to watching the blades. And I know there are distractions, so I know if I lived by them, I'd be, I think it could drive you crazy. But and I know we need to be looking at clean power, but I'm just not sure I'm ready to dive into something for this long and put the Cherokee Nation at risk on anything. So I don't believe I could be supporting this thing still at this time, even 6 years later or whatever it was last time we visited with this. And I know it's not in our best respect to other people out there. So.
And that's why I wanted to put it on the agenda for discussion only. Give everybody a chance to see where we're. Yes. Good information, and I'm glad that we had everybody's input a little bit further. If you guys have more information you want to present, try to amend the agenda. But for right now, I think from what I've heard, we probably need to leave it discussion only.
Yes.
I did want to be sure that the council understood that, one of the reasons that I wanted to be sure to get it in front of you is because the deal that we have to present to you, in the larger world, there are these wind tax credits that make these kinds of projects feasible, and those wind credits are expiring, and the first set of them will expire at the end of this calendar year. And so if this is something that you want to do, then my office and Mr. Garrett's office, we're going to have to move forward with extreme diligence and speed to try to get everything done, because these leases have to be approved by waivers have to be approved, they have to be signed by the chief and approved by the BIA before we can really before the group could be expected to make the investments that they would need to sort of lock in those tax credits. So if this is a deal that you want to do, it needs to be done quickly. And I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that that was the case. And then I also wanted to just, as an overview, address some of the concerns that have been raised about it. And I think there are fair criticisms of wind farms for sure. Some of them are aesthetic. Some people just don't like the way that they look and think that they mar the landscape, and that's a legitimate fear raised about wind farms and not something anybody can refute. You like them or you don't. And some people really feel strongly about that, and that's going to be a circumstance here that everybody has to think about. Another criticism that I think is fair of wind farms is that bird strikes are an issue. You're going to kill birds with wind farms, and that's just the way it is. And the mitigating factor to that, to me, is on the one hand, we've talked about that. What is the most responsible way to handle bird strikes, and has anyone really tried to handle them in the most responsible way? And I've talked with some of the people that work for me, and we've talked to P&E about putting together maybe a first of its kind project, because I don't know that there's been really good bird strike studies done at some locations. A lot of people who build wind farms don't want people to know how many birds are killed there. doing a really responsible study of the bird strikes that are there, and that's a partnership that P&E is open to, and also talked about maybe entering into an agreement with U.S. Fish and Wildlife to take those feathers and give them to the bank, so that even though the birds might be killed, the feathers could be used later down the road by Cherokee or other artisans who request feathers from the bank. It doesn't solve the problem. The birds are still killed by the wind farm, and that's a consideration that everyone here has to weigh against the possible value of it. Those are my responses to this. I think those are fair criticisms, and it will irrevocably change the landscape of the lands that we own. I think that Councilman Lay is, he definitely has a point. The land, they can go back and remove the windmills, but the land will never be quite the same as when they were constructed, and I think that that's fair to say too. I also don't think, though, that it's, those are just things that you have to balance, and I can't balance them for you. You'll make your own value judgments on what the proper balance is on that. So I just wanted to sort of throw those out there. So I certainly understand what everyone is saying. I share those same issues and concerns. And those are just things that you have to decide. The law, that we're taking this shift, hopefully, that the country is making. Farms do kill birds. Climate change kills birds too, and it affects every other species on this planet. So I think that it's just a weighing thing that you have to consider when you're making those. So I just wanted to raise those, and also say that this project really is kind of a new project as far as Chuck and I are concerned. We really took it from the ground up and said, okay, let's, his people did all the business analysis, which is fortunate for everybody. I didn't have any involvement in that. But I really think it's a deal that at least is worth looking at and saying, is this the value that this would bring to Cherokee Nation? Is this on balance worth it? And the other element to consider is that we really need to know as soon as we can what you want to do, because it's going to be a rush for the finish line if you approved it immediately. If there's any delay at all, this deal is not going to be available anymore because of the tax credit situation. So, in some ways, a delay is going to be a no.
Go to the secretary. I think he.
Because of what Secretary Hill just said, there is a time-sensitive element to this. What I would suggest is when we're done with the discussion today, and I think there's probably some more to the presentation that they would like to make, perhaps would suggest recessing rules, reconvening on Council Day, September the 12th. There could be additional discussion in a reconvened rules meeting, and at that time, if you could amend the agenda for possible action, and then that could send it on to council that night if it's approved. That would balance your need for more information and to study it more with their need to get moving, because I think time's the enemy with these business deals, particularly when tax credits are involved. Just one other note, if I could, Mr. Speaker. I was here on the council when the last time there was talk of wind farms and P&E. This is a complete different deal. The letters P and E may still be involved, but it's a completely different deal. The issue here is whether we are going to get additional revenue off land based on wind farm, mindful of the sort of downsides of any use of the land, in this case wind energy. We've evaluated, our experts have evaluated, Sarah Hill, who is probably one of Cherokee Nation, that it weighs in favor of doing this easily. More details to back this up, but I don't think land, agricultural leases and yielding the revenue from those leases, as we add on top of that the revenue that we'll realize from wind energy. These folks are more knowledgeable about that than I am, but I think that's a point that should not be lost in the discussion. So back to the procedure, though, I would suggest that we do a recess so that we can save time. That would be my suggestion.
Thank you. Councilor Walker.
Just one comment. Sarah, just listening to the round robin we had with all our councilmen, I didn't hear one council member talk about money or profit shares for the tribe. It was more based on environmental scenery, being eco-friendly, and again, that's part about being traditional. I mean, that's where we come from. Money is non-essential. Gaming is great. It's brought our tribe and it brought benefits to our people that we never would have dreamed of. And this does sound like a very profitable venture that would bring money into the tribe. And I go back to the motor fuels money. We get close to $7 million a year off that. I would feel if there was a feasibility study done on taking that away, on the electric part, how much it would cut back our profits on the motor fuels tax dollars. So, and again, it may not, but that's one of my concerns. But again, money, it's not based on money. This is, you guys are, Chuck, you're a business guy, you're here to bring us money. And you're here to evaluate all the environmental studies and be sure that it's a safe way. But again, this isn't about money for me, so I won't be supporting it. So, anyways, Speaker, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we had a suggestion to recess till September the 12th. You know, I want to commend the tribe for bringing us business ventures to try to diversify, make it possible for us to have a look at things other than gaming. You know, you brought us, of course, CNI has been around a long time. You brought us the Buffalo project, that's going well. Wild horses, I think we're still visiting that. You know, we visited everything from aquaponics, and now we're into the wind farm. So it is good that we're out there testing the waters and see what fits here. And so I think there's some concern here. So we probably need to gather more information. And I don't have a problem of recessing until September 12th if the council does not.
I also think if we could maybe have another 5 to 10 minutes, I think it would be beneficial because I can speak to some of the natural resource issues, but not to the business issues the way that Chuck can. So I think it'd be good to just let him walk through his presentation quickly and kind of talk a little bit more about the business side if you can indulge us for maybe 5 or 10 more minutes.
Okay, you want to do that before we decide?
I'm happy to do whatever you and the committee would like. I'm certainly happy to outline the economics of the transaction, and so you can better weigh the other considerations.
Somebody give me some direction here. How do you want to do it, council?
Well, he's here. I think we should listen to him.
Oh, we're going to hear it anyway. I mean, I'm just saying, you want to do you want to do the motion now to move it to the 12th to recess? I mean, we're going to hear it, but I thought, which one do you want to do first?
If we're going to listen to me, I'll make the motion to recess to the 12th after Chuck's presentation.
All right, got a motion, second, recess. Okay, discussion. Okay, all in favor of recess till the 12th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
All right, very good. Thank you, and sort of starting point of, council, which was, so what's different about this transaction? I mentioned that terms and conditions were really one of a joint venture, where we invested money and we were to get a return based on the project's success in the market. This is very different in the sense that this is a ground lease. So the rental revenue that we receive in Cherokee Nation land, the payments will go directly to those revenues, the other, are really tied to how many turbines and how many megawatts. And that, if you think about it, to sell more they can pay. Is megawatt they think they can produce or install 154 megawatts of energy on these 4,000 acres. That would be 67 turbines. Those turbines, as Councilor Lay said, about 80 meters tall. The lease revenue over a 20-year period would be $18,500,000 if they installed 67 turbines. They have the right after 20 years to extend for another 20 years. So they could be there for 40 years total. If it is 40 years, it'd be $45 million over that 40-year period. At the end of the 40 years, or end of the 20 years, if they don't extend, they have an obligation to remove the turbines and return the land to its initial condition. Now, if there are doubters out there, can't really comment on that because I've not seen that happen, but there will be a bond in place, and the BIA will be one of those parties that help determine the amount of the bond. to ensure that the money is there to do that. So the science behind it I can't address very much, but I can, what we try to do is ensure that the money would be there to do the job. If through some governmental regulation or some restriction, P&E is not allowed to maximize the number of turbines, we wanted to make sure that at some point there was a minimum number of turbines, or this body and the nation had the opportunity to terminate the lease. So if the minimum number of turbines would be 45 turbines, at which you could decide you didn't want to move forward in the lease or not. That's $500,000 per year. For the first year, it's a total of $622 per year for 20 years, or if they do extend 40 years, it's $764,000. So they anticipate basically $1 million a year coming to the tribe. If they don't, then it'll Secretary Hill meant to determine and calculate damage if there is loss, economics, and if that does that offset the other consideration. Be happy to add the economics of the train.
I got a question that I could ask now on a yearly basis.
Now?
Do we know now, as far as rentals?
For lease, years do we lease those out?
Do we know how much we get a year off?
Okay, good. Yes, Councilor Taylor. Councilor Taylor, you had a question?
Okay, so my question is, on your chart here regarding commercial operation.
Mm-hmm.
We do this deal in 17, and the lease payments will start.
And then they have 18 of that 2 years to really 3.5 years.
Yes, Councilor Vasquez, do you have a question?
No.
Okay.
Farm directly to the west, well, more, this won't be the first wind farm in that area. There's already several wind farms in that area.
Okay.
How many turbines currently are on?
The other one to the east has, it's generating well over 300 kilowatts.
Yeah, so
there's none on this property.
Right, yeah, there's none on the
In that area, the one you were just talking about.
Yeah, on the I don't know about the one on the Duke Energy one to the east, but I think on that one there's.
So are they in sight? Are they visible from the Chilocco site?
they're within a half a mile of this site.
Okay. I guess we're good. You know, all we need is that answer from Bruce, and I don't think that's going to determine anything. Are we good over here on this? Yes. We've already made that motion, so that's good. September 12th, how much longer do you think we'll meet? We have our regular meeting starting at 1 o'clock, September the 12th.
Basically, we will walk through the presentation again, go into more detail. You may have had an opportunity to think of additional questions, and so it's sort of up to you. I don't need a lot of
You
time.
want to do on the back end, instead of the front
Between
end?
5 and 6.
Well, we got council meeting at 6.
We always sit around for an hour. Why not?
I'd rather do it at 11.
Why?
You're the chairman. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like to have I make my decisions based on adhering to you guys.
It's fine.
Councilor Tripp.
No, I don't think it's going to take much time, is it?
I doubt it will.
I mean, realistically, I think everybody in their heart knows where they're going right now. But
That's why I put it up for discussion
right,
first.
I would, let's see,
What time can you get here?
about 12:30.
Yeah.
School teachers just need to learn.
Okay, so we start at 1. Teach fast. Well, we say, then we won't even have to push it on that end. And regardless of how long they go, at 6 o'clock we have council meeting. It's like we tell our pastor at our church, you preach as long as you want after 12. We go to lunch at 12.
be very mindful of the meetings up to
Okay.
5.
All right. Is that good?
Yeah.
All right, then, make a motion to recess.
Recess.
We're good?
Okay, we're good.
All right?
All right.
Good?
Yes.
All right.